And in just a moment, we're going to invite some pastors to come on and kind of give their reaction to the data. So James Craig is the pastor at Paradigm Shift Ministries, and we have James Delaney from St. James Christian. We are so glad to have you both here. Thank you, pastors, for joining us here today. Now, we're putting you on the spot because you didn't get the heads up on any of this data. You're experiencing it in real time, just like everybody else. Let me ask you, what kind of stood out to you? What surprised you as you were listening to that? Was there anything that just kind of made you go, wow, I didn't expect to get that today?
Yeah, you know what? I'll start off. I would say sermon time. I didn't expect to hear that the younger people, that younger generation, doesn't mind having a longer sermon. And just me personally, I've been working diligently to just condense the message, get right to the point, kind of make it so where you can, people are getting back to, I hate to say it like this, but getting back to whatever they're doing in a day. But, I was really shocked by that because I kind of expected the older generation or the older group of folks to say, hey, we can stay in church all day long, because that's what I hear. And then younger people say, let's get out of here. So that's that was the one shocking thing that I just heard today.
One of the things I thought that for me, that was a shovel. That was one of those things where I want to explore that a little further and try and understand why. And part of me thought too, younger generations are a little bit less biblically literate. And so sometimes a shorter sermon makes some assumptions that they have some information that maybe they don't. And so a longer sermon that actually unpacks some things for them may be more helpful. So I don't know. I want to dig into that myself a little bit, Dustin, anything that surprised you?
Yeah, kind of to go off of that, as a millennial pastor, I did find that surprising, but thinking about it a little bit over the last few minutes there is a rise in audiobooks, podcasts. So in that digital media space, millennials are trying to go after some more longer form, informational sources. So I think that definitely is an opportunity for us in the church. Another thing that was kind of stuck out to me was the divide in the attitude on racial justice. That Christians, I think it was 80%, said churches were good on racial justice, and non-Christians were 55%. So I think that's definitely an opportunity where there's a divide that in that perception that maybe we can find a way to help address.
Yeah, great. I'm just curious, what it was. Did anything encourage you? Like when you were listening to that, did you go, wow, that was an encouragement to me in the ministry that I'm doing?
Yeah, for me, it was the unchurched adults have some positive things to say about the church, because a lot of times our church, we've got a couple businesses that, I don't want to say cater, but, it's Christians, unchurched church people. And so I run into a lot of people that are unchurched. Sometimes I get people that don't have positive things to say, and that's probably the majority of them. It's like, oh, the church is this, the church is that, they do this, they do that. And that's a shovel. I'm always like, well, tell me a little more about that. What happened to you? Who hurt you in the church that caused you to feel like this about the church? And sometimes, I have a tendency to try to make people feel like, hey, I can solve all your problems. But that was one positive, very encouraging thing that I thought that keeps my faith going for reaching the unchurched folks.
Yeah, it does seem like the media and a lot of the impressions that we get feel more negative, and to know that that's maybe not the general sentiment kind of can maybe help us lead with some confidence in some areas. Dustin, how about you?
Yeah, I think that very first slide where it said the church in Columbus is known for offering hope, for being generous, for being caring. Those are things we want as just followers of Jesus want to be known for in the community. I think that being the top three things is definitely encouraging that we have that going for us and trying to reach out.
Well, I'm curious just to know from the two of you, I won't hold you to any of this, but is there anything that you were like, I could take action on this? Like, this is something that I could actually like maybe do just hearing this data, this is a step I could take, or this is an adjustment I could make, or something I could explore, just some movement that could come out of the data. Anything come to mind like that?
For me, it was what people expect from the church. There were some topics in there that I thought that we could literally, I wrote a couple things down that we're already kind of doing that we could really tackle and do better. And, what people expect from the church, I think that's probably one of the number one questions we ask ourselves as pastors. What could we do more of? How can we get people to not only know the church, but know the Christ of the church, which is real, which is a real best part of that is our job, bring people to Christ. So I thought that list of what people expect from the church, I'm going to dive into that big time once I get to see it. I've already been taking pictures on my phone of what was popped up here to get a preview before the 24 hours. It'll be posted online, the toolkit.
That's great. Yeah, it's kind of like when I bought a roll of Sweet Tarts and it said gluten-free candy. I was like, haven't you always been gluten-free? Like, I would never think of Sweet Tarts needing to be gluten-free, but it's like they're like this is like an obvious thing about them, but they want to make sure that they're leveraging that, right? And it's like maybe there's some things the church could talk about that we do that are obvious to us, but maybe not obvious to everybody else.
Absolutely.
So, Dustin, how about you? I'll give you the last word on that.
Yeah, for me, I think that bit about the different categories of human flourishing and trying to develop discipleship programs, especially with all these new online tools that we all had to learn kind of on the fly, that I think there's opportunities to try to help people grow in different ways and not just in person, but online. And I think maybe during this COVID pandemic, people just maybe had a little bit more time to kind of reflect on where they are, where they want to be. And we as the church, well, we know we have the answer, but if we can provide some of those other answers supplemental to that and just help people grow to get to be who they were created to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. And we're going to actually, to build off that, when we come back from our discussion groups, we're going to actually show how to actually deploy assessments in your church so that you can really go deep and compare some of this data that we just looked at in your local community and church and look at it deeper. So that's great. Well, thank you both for being here and for all the work that you're doing in Columbus to love people, and really good report today. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.